I feel like seen for the first time as an artist, right? Like where it's like, it really feels like a serious thing that people are like taking my music seriously and taking me seriously. I'm 26 years old. Like I started making music. I started being involved in music 10 years ago and I started producing 6 years ago. It's never too late to start trying things. And like, if you just keep going, eventually it really always is a function of time. Like you have to keep taking these shots in the dark because when you have one that works, everything can change.
Episode 44 of Invest in Music with Daniel Allan. We're back with our first returning guest to talk about his recent song, I Just Need, and all the success he's having on platforms like Instagram and TikTok. He talks about his first tour and what it looks like to build a career as an up-and-coming artist in 2024. As a reminder, you can collect this episode on investinmusic.xyz. Daniel's a longtime friend and someone we've been doing a lot of work with, so without further ado, let's get into it. Episode 44 of Invest in Music with Daniel Allan. All right, we are back. The first returning guest on the Invest in Music podcast, Mr. Daniel Allan. How are you feeling, man?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. Been a busy couple weeks, but yeah, feeling great.
I feel like a lot has happened since we had you first on this episode. I think it was maybe 6 months ago at this point, maybe even close to 8 months. What's been going on since last time we chatted?
Yeah, a lot of changes. Obviously, I have like my first song that's kind of having a moment on the internet, which is net new experience for me. A lot of new challenges navigating that, a lot of fun navigating that, and yeah, just kind of taking that whole thing a step at a time. But I think was I on the podcast last before Duality came out? So yeah, I guess that's kind of where it started, was doing the Duality Pass, doing the Duality project, and then parlaying that into kind of the longest marketing stint I've ever had on a record before.
Yeah. I think when we came on last time, you had just completed the seed round that was just announced. You were basically gearing up to release Duality, but I know that you had kind of talked about this intention of wanting to be more active with your content, trying to build a fan base and whatnot. And I mean, you really stuck to that word, and it's been amazing to watch it develop since then. How would you kind of describe your relationship with, Instagram, TikTok, and everything that's happened since then?
Yeah, well, I wish we clipped that. I want to see. I kind of am curious to see what that looks like. I think my relationship with content has definitely come a long way. I think for a long time, you're kind of taking a bunch of shots on goal, but you don't really know how to kick yet. And so it becomes like a very frustrating thing, but you kind of just have to keep sticking through it. And then eventually you start to have like a formula. And I don't think that the formula for me, I don't have a formula for like quote unquote going viral. You know what I mean? But what I do have is like some sort of a relationship of me like taking my shots on goal. And right. So with this song specifically, I've posted, I don't know the exact number, but between me and Lyra, we've done like probably 500 videos for it, like across platforms, right? The first 100 were entire shots in the dark. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just kind of posting videos for the sake of posting videos. And then as I've been posting more and more, there's like an iterative process that presents itself that's been kind of fun in a weird way to navigate. Because I think that like there's this stigma associated with posting on the internet where like, oh, like I'm an artist, I have to be an artistic person, I should be in the studio all day making music. I think that in the same vein, I was talking to a friend about this last night. It's kind of a respect thing that you have to have towards the song. Like if you're spending all of this time like in the studio trying to like perfect the perfect song, which like anyone that knows me knows that that's like 90% of my day, then there's kind of like this respect that you owe to the song to try to give it the time of day as much as you can. And if you don't have at least a little bit of fun in the process, and I'm not saying that it's like the most glamorous thing posting on the internet, but like to me, the fun that I found and the reason that I've been able to keep it sustainable is I've kind of approached it as like this problem solving experience, right? So the first video that I ever posted that did remotely well on the internet was right before I played Electric Forest. I went to the poppy fields like an hour and a half away, and then I posted a video, a DJ video. I literally brought a propane tank. I didn't like fake any of it. Like I brought the whole thing out. Like we were wheeling propane tanks through poppy fields. It was absurd. And I played my Duality mashup, the song with Bloody White, and with like the LaRue like bulletproof acapella. And that video was the first video I ever had that did well. And I had a friend who's like an influencer call me that night, and he was like, hey man, like you need to do more DJ videos. And in my mind, I was like, no, like it's the song. Like there's like this ego about, no, like it has to be the song. Like that's the reason that the video does well. And so I kept trying a bunch of things with the song. I tried sitting in a room with the song. I tried running with the song. Like I tried so many things that were based around the song, and I didn't really see anything happen with it, right? And then a month went by and I moved on to the next release cycle, and I did another DJ video, and the DJ video did well. And again, I'm like, okay, it has to be the song. The song this time around was I Just Need. And I noticed that I Just Need was doing better than Duality. Like there's no commentary on if it's a better song or not. I'm only speaking to like how the internet reacts to it. And I noticed that there started to be something better around the song. So when I did try to do a sit down video with I Just Need, when I did try to do a walking around video with I Just Need, it was doing better than the song before. So in this whole process, you're kind of isolating for variables, right? So then I started doing more DJ videos with different songs. And I did like DJ videos like right here. I did DJ videos in the living room. I did DJ videos all around a house, right? I did it in my studio. And then I kind of put two and two together. Okay, I Just Need kind of has a little bit more of internet potential. And this is also when I'm promoting the rest of the project. So I'm trying this with like 7-8 songs, right? And then DJing is a thing. And then you kind of put those two together and you're like, okay, DJing is a thing. The song is a thing. Let me try going outdoors and try to get a really pretty background, right? And it sounds really simple, but this process of isolating variables, there's like a weird satisfaction. It's kind of like solving a puzzle, right? When I went outside and I did a DJ video with I Just Need, combined those two things, and I did it in a pretty place. And it was my first video that did well. Mind you, this is 6 months of posting every day. I have one video that does well. I was getting like 2,000 views a video for 6 months, every single day, across platforms. It's not like one platform was doing well. And so I post this one video, it gets 300,000 views. And the copy on it was, I found Fred again before we've lost dancing, or something like that. And then Caleb, who's the guy that was like an influencer friend, I kind of fell back into my habit of like, okay, like I had that DJ video do well, I had the song do well, let me just keep trying stuff with the song, right? And he was like, dude, stop fucking around and just do the same video. Like, do a DJ video with the song in a pretty place and change one thing and learn about that thing. And the very next video I posted was the first viral video that got 1 million views. And that video was, I found Fred again before he blew up. The same exact video, like same song, DJing, pretty place. And that one little change in text, because like, I've started to develop this like psychological relationship, I think, with the internet, where you really have to be so strategic and intentional with it. Those two videos are the same. One got 1 million views, one didn't. And the only difference was framing who it was for. So when I say I found Fred again before this song, you have to understand, like, everyone that knows who Fred again is, for an example, probably, I'd say for every person that knows who Fred again is, maybe like 0.2 of those people could really name that song that I was referring to. So in doing that copy, like, you're alienating like 80% of Fred again fans, right? And so this whole like iterative, isolating, strategic variable has been how I've been able to at least have a little bit of fun with it, because when you do have something do well, it gives you a lot of confidence that you don't feel like a total idiot, doing the things that you do on the internet.
Mm-hmm. And talk to me about the way that you address the market of the internet. Like you just mentioned there, like Fred again is a bigger artist, and Fred again as an artist is bigger than the song. I think there's something really powerful in sort of your decision to reach a wider audience by virtue of what you're putting in the copy. Can you go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are two things that I'll talk about. Like, number one, I literally try to create the exact profile of the fan that I'm trying to reach. Like, I make up their name. I make up what they do for fun. Like, to me, it's like, there's like a girl named Sarah who's like, in her college dorm room, she has like a tapestry on the wall. Like, she has like her group chat with her friends that she texts, and like they debate what genre of electronic music certain songs are. Like, oh, is this a liquid D&B record, or is this just a D&B record? Is this house music, or is this tech house, or is this stutter house, or is this melodic music? And so number one, it starts with like being hyper specific about who the person is that you're trying to reach, down to like try to really assign like a personality to them. Because I feel like it's kind of ironic, if you're trying to just reach the most general broad, like everyone, you don't really have a roadmap for how to do it. Whereas if you define the person, it becomes a lot easier to kind of narrow down the direction of like the copy, So yeah, I think that's kind of how I approach the filtering process. And just in terms of the content itself, I view it in two pockets. I view it as like the top of funnel and like the bottom of funnel. So I think a lot of artists who have been around for a while that have like a following already, maybe before this like social media wave, have like a big bottom of funnel fan base, meaning like people that are already there that are kind of just like waiting to be active and waiting to be like kept engaged. And then there's top of funnel, which is like people that are not at all in your ecosystem that you're trying to grab. And so like for me, a lot of I found Fred again before I found, before he blew up, it's not even me trying to say that my music is like Fred again. It's me trying to say a lot more people know who he is, and it's the closest frame of reference that aligns with that target person that I'm thinking of, And so it's like very much like I'm gonna do a bunch of those to cast a wide net and to just try to give myself the opportunity to earn a fan, because I think that there's a distinction between a follower and a fan. I think that a lot of people followed me from those videos, right? And I think that I can't say that all of those people are fans, right? And so the way that I think about it is I cast this wide net to get followers, to get people maybe like pre-selected to be a fan. And then a lot of the bottom of the funnel stuff, which is like the cooler like show recap videos and stuff like that, that isn't intended for me trying to reach a cajillion people. It's more about like, this is like cooler, more curated content that's like meant to captivate and keep people. That's kind of the balance, I would say, of like, trying to get people, but also not trying to make literally the same video 1,000 times a year.
How do you think about converting followers to fans, and what have you been doing to try and get someone who follows you on Instagram to actually become a real fan of your music? I
mean, I think one of my biggest goals right now is to build out my touring infrastructure. And I feel like when I'm playing shows, like you've been to a few of them, I don't talk to anyone after the show until I talk to fans. So like everything that I'm doing on the internet is something that I'm trying to parlay into ticket sales. It's something that I'm trying to like, I just need having a moment, as much as it's good for like the look of having followers, which I think is a little bit overrated. What matters the most is if I get 3,000 new followers, will 30 of them buy tickets? And that really is like the conversion rate. It's not like, I mean, if you have 1 million followers on Instagram and you're selling like 3,000 cap rooms, I think that's a really big accomplishment. I think that's really good. It's not like you have 1 million followers just selling out 150,000 people's stadiums, And so to me, it's trying to communicate the message, because I'm about to go on my first tour, like trying to communicate the message of like, here's the song that is this popular thing that's like trending on the internet. And when you see me in person, I'm going to give you like the real value add for why you should be a fan. And so like, there are a bunch of things that I do in that world. Like after every show, I go out and I try to find like my like top 25 fans like in the show, right? And I either have like my manager do it, or I have like people like on my team walking around, or my girlfriend do it, like walking around the crowd trying to like suss out who the people are. And then I give them like a IYK lanyard, which is just like a VIP pass. And if you touch the chip, it takes you to like my unreleased music. It takes you to like, I feel like it's really given me an avenue to start to explore the in real life activations, which I think just provide a degree of realness that the internet always can't. So that's kind of, I guess, the way that I think about it, is like try to convert people who are followers on the internet to fans in real life.
And talk a little bit more about this tour. How did it come about? Where are you going to be playing on this tour? What are your intentions and what do you hope to achieve with it? Just what comes to mind when you think about your first tour?
I think that with the tour, it's really interesting because, if you're an electronic musician, your biggest goal is to be playing festivals. And you can't really play festivals without a ticket history, but it's really hard to get a ticket history because some people will like maybe play festivals and then work their way into their own headline tours. And I wasn't in that situation. And so I just decided to take it upon myself to figure out how I'm supposed to sell tickets. And it's been a very just new experience for me, in the same way that like going viral on the internet has been. Like the side that the internet doesn't see as much is how much this touring thing is brand new to me. But the way that it came about was like, at the end of the day, no matter how many followers you have, one of the realest indicators of a long-lasting career is how many people you can put in a room. Like how many people can like physically stop what they're doing and go to a show of yours. And that's just been a net new process for me. So I wanted to start really small. Like it's funny, I get like a lot of comments on my videos that are like, come to Guatemala. I'm like, you're gonna be the only person in Guatemala like at my show. You know what I mean? Like, and so like I kind of have to start with it's like the trajectory that a lot of people do. Like you start with like the big markets and just see where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm gauging this. Don't get me wrong. Like my number one intention is like learning digital marketing in a way that can really help like sell out the tour. Whether that's like me like running ads on my shit, whether that's me trying to make videos go viral that have something to do with tour, right? But to me, it's like starting with the major markets where like my music streams the most. So like I saw that like New York and LA, for example, are my two biggest streaming cities in the US. And then Denver was just a strategic play because one, it aligns with ETH Denver, and two, it's just like, you know, the biggest city for electronic music. And so it's just like, let me start with those and provide some sort of a sample size experience for what shows look like and get a lot of the content out of it. Because at this point in my career, I'm losing money on every show that I play, you know, and that's cool. Like that's super cool. Me doing like a seed round really gave me the leverage to like make that feel very comfortable, right? But I think that with this tour specifically, it's more me just gauging interest of what a show of mine, first of all, figuring out what a show of mine looks like, and two, trying to get an understanding of how many of these I Just Need listeners are in these cities that will actually like come and be a fan, like more than they would be like a follower.
And buy a ticket, which I think is a very important distinction here, because we've been doing shows for maybe the last 2 years at this point, I'd say, just like whether it be at crypto conferences or, you know, since this last podcast, you've done some shows with Chainsmokers, with San Holo, you've done Electric Forest, but these feel like different pockets because people are buying tickets to come to shows. And that sounds like a very obvious thing when you say it out loud, but there is a huge distinction between get someone to show up for free or when they're supporting a bigger artist to pay money to see your show specifically.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, dude, I'm not doing guest lists on these shows, right? And I think that there's a degree of someone feeling like favored or someone feeling special when like they get to go to something for free. Like a lot of the shows that we were putting on was like, here's an open bar, like everyone pull up and like have fun. And like, it was more just like, I don't have necessarily the value to offer. So the value that I'm offering is like this experience. Like there was no like song or anything that I can push. And there's this weird, it kind of in the same way that like when I do stuff on the internet, the smallest kind of change can really change consumer behavior. And for tour, that's assigning a $20 ticket price to it. Like in the same way that me saying Fred Again before the song versus Fred Again before he blew up, you just always are casting like a very different net. And just the experience of like assigning a ticket price makes people feel like, I would say, almost like a little bit less special. I would say. So you really are relying a lot more on people's fandom and like people's true want to see you play rather than like, hey, this is free and I'm like, I feel special for being able to go for free and I feel like I'm being pampered for it. And that's a very different behavior than like, I love this person and I want to spend my money to see them, you know?
How would you say something like the Duality release party falls in between there? Because obviously it was around a project. It was at not a formal venue, but ended up being at a venue that had like a feel that it was like a live show. Granted, it was free, but like talk to me about that versus the show you have coming up at the Echo in March and how those feel different to you.
They don't feel as different as you would think. I mean, I think that it's the right time for me to do my first tour and like only doing like this 200 to 300 cap room place because I've been building up for this. Whether it's a free show or not, doesn't matter. It's a show and it's show experience and it's me playing. Like I'm not changing too much about the way that I perform for any of these shows. I would say the only thing that feels, I think the biggest thing for me is just the pressure of trying to, like, at the end of the day, for a lot of the stuff that we were doing, it's like, oh, like, well, the worst case scenario is people, like, not that many people show up, which is at the end of the day fine because there's no really expectation. There's like no number that you have to meet. Yeah. And I think that when you start playing shows, like the numbers start to mean a lot more because if you want to play bigger rooms, if you want to play festivals, you kind of have to have this proof to go into it. Yeah. And I think that so in terms of me performing, I don't feel like a different pressure. Like I feel excited to do that. Like it's like don't get me wrong, there's like a nervousness, but that's like always good nerves. I get nervous before every show that I play. But I think it's the idea of selling tickets and having a different like floor for what the worst case scenario is just very different.
Should we tell the Duality release party story? The unfiltered version?
Oh, yeah. So I think this when was this? November 11th? Yeah. November 10th? Yeah. Something like that? Okay, so the Duality release party, we had just thrown the bloody Halloween party 2 weeks ago at the house. And we decided to go like too big on it, in my opinion. Like there was a massive sub on the balcony. Like it's just like, it was just like, if I'm a neighbor, I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
And then we set up the duality release party to happen like a week and a half after, probably too close,
Yeah.
but it's just that was just the nature of the releases. Like I wouldn't have changed the dates or anything. And so we're like, let's run it up, because we've done so many events that like one thing you learn from doing events is like the amount of RSVPs has nothing to do with like the amount of people that show up. You can get 1,000 RSVPs and get 200 people to show up. So the MO is always to run it up with RSVPs, because if you get 200 RSVPs, we're probably only going to get 40 people there, 50 people there. We should honestly see what the multiple is. Like, I wonder if there's a way to keep track of that. So we get like, I don't know, well, 800 RSVPs, 700 RSVPs, something in that world.
Yep. And mind you, too, this was for context. The Bloody Halloween party was the first time that we got a noise complaint. It was the first time that we got shut down by the cops for doing it. Daniel, of course, in his fashion, we get the noise complaint. Daniel's on the decks. He goes, "We just got our first noise complaint." It turns it up, plays Skrillex louder, like just totally overdoes it. And so basically that whole week leading up to the audio release party, we're like going around to neighbors' houses. Daniel's like, "I don't want to go to neighbors' houses. I don't want to." You should wait. Hold on. You should tell the thing you said about like, you're like, "Fuck these neighbors. I want to like make an impact in 5 years or something."
Yeah, bro. Look, like Steve Aoki, when he was like in college, bro, would throw parties in his fucking dorm room and get shut down all the time. And like Skrillex did all this shit. Like I would rather, I feel like if you're not going crazy in that way, you're not like creating that much of a cultural impact. Like I feel like those are the stories. Like when I'm in college and I'm like, I want to move to Los Angeles, a lot of the shit that I was seeing on the internet was like brownies and lemonade and Skrillex and like all these people throwing these parties and cops showing up at them and like being like, wow, like holy shit, electronic music is so cool. Like there's this thing happening and I want to be a part of it. Like I want to be this, I want to be like this counterculture person. You know what I mean? And like, to me, I feel like a big part of my career has been being a counterculture person in my own way. You know what I mean? Like dropping music on chain in like the really early days and like having that be a new thing. Like, and I wanted to lean into that. Like I definitely, I've always like valued that part of my career and that part of my story, you know? And so we're like we're about to get ready for the party and Cooper wanted to like tell all the neighbors like, hey, we're throwing a party, and I'm like, fuck the neighbors, bro. Like they're not gonna be happy with it. Like there's no way that we're gonna get a cosign right now.
The only reason I want to tell neighbors because our landlord was coming down heavy on us and being
fuck
like,
the landlord. Like I was just so down. Like I was like, bro, it's like this is like some legendary shit. This is shit you look at in 5 years, 10 years, you're like, dude, remember when we were doing that? I don't know, I think about the legacy lens a lot. But anyways, I digress. We're gonna throw this party. We told the neighbors what was going on, and there started to be like a talk of the town in the neighborhood that was very much like
fuck these guys.
Yeah, like we know what's happening, and I think we gave into it a little too much. I don't think we had to, but I think we actually not. I don't actually mean fuck our landlord. She's a great lady, but I think that it was very. I think that we really felt the pressure for the first time, being like, there's like a serious like trouble we can get into, because they're like, fine, when a helicopter goes to your house, which we never had happen, that's apparently like an absurd fine. It's like 20 grand or something. So I was like, okay, I feel like this might happen tonight, so maybe like we should take the money that we would be losing on the helicopter and maybe just get a cheaper venue or something and like figure that out. And so, but I remember it was very stressful because we had to make the call like 4 hours before, like leading up that day. We kept going back and forth with our realtor trying to like getting updates, being like, yeah, you guys will be okay if the music's off at 10. I'm like, oh shit, like we were planning on starting at 10. And like one thing led to another. Eventually we found out that like we couldn't do it. And it's like 6 o'clock. The party's supposed to start at 10. And I mean, the options, doing it at the house was off the table because our next door neighbor's a judge. Like there was going to be an injunction, turn the water off, all that stuff. So we can't do it at the house. And so the only two options are to find a venue or to cancel it. And I adamantly did not want to cancel it because it's like, at this point, I just needed starting to bubble a little bit. Like it was like a week before the first internet moment, but there was a sort of confidence in the air of like, yo, this is like starting to happen. You know, I think it had just hit 1 million streams because I had just done the Chainsmokers show or something like that. Yeah. And it was just like, oh, like this is like a thing, something where like, you know, you put out music for so long and you start to have a moment, you notice it, like even the small bumps because you're in the weeds. And I really wanted to have like a cool party for it. And then a few hours before, we found a venue. We found Doheny Room, and we were all panicking trying to find it. You found it in like 15 minutes, but no one knew what the fuck, like how we were going to find it. And we cut a deal with the guy, and the owner of the club, and we get there And my thought process is, if we have, we have 800 RSVPs, you're signing up for two very different things when you're signing up to like go to a house party versus going to a club. Not just going out, but going to like a sweaty club.
Yeah.
A sweaty dark club in LA. Like it's not like Germany or like somewhere cool where it's to do that. And so we get there, and like I think you started DJing, or whoever was DJing first. And people just like started piling in.
Yeah.
And it was like, I had no expectation. Like in my mind, I'm like, if we can get 50 people here, like that feels good.
Yeah.
I don't know what the number is. I don't think we would have sold it out. But given that like people came on like 3-hour notice, I felt like I was like doing like the Diplo shit that he does in New York when he does like pop-ups at like the delis and stuff.
Yeah.
It almost had that kind of energy to it, where it is 300 people like a bad number? Is that incorrect? Does that feel like too much?
No, I think it was actually close to like 400.
Yeah, like so there was like, if it's a 600 cap room, it was probably like 400 people there on 2-hour notice. You know what I mean? And I mean, just like as a aside, it kind of gave me confidence in what it felt like to independently push tickets in that way. Because again, the money thing wasn't attached to it, of it being a ticketed $20 event, but there was an attachment of
come to this place
that's not a house, like to hear me play music. And so that was definitely like a good building block for the rest of the tour stuff.
Yeah. And it's interesting now because we're at this point where, I Just Need is kind of having its second wave or its second moment. So you mentioned at the time Doheny release party, it had 1 million streams. It was going well. It was clearly your biggest song. And then something started to happen where the song started blowing up on Instagram. Do you want to talk more about sort of that transition into the current moment that the song's happening?
Yeah. So one day I'm going to make like a documentary about the song or some shit. But like I've had the most blind belief in this song ever since ever since I put it out. Before putting it out, I actually didn't think the song was going to see the light of day. Like I had like a few friends kind of tell me, like Weathan was like, yo, this is a good record. Demo Tapes was like, this is a good record. Like, and I always thought it was like a throwaway record, and Kathleen always liked it. I was never like 100% sure on it, only because I made it in 20 minutes. And I had to get over the hump of like, how long you spend on a song is not at all correlated with like how good it is. Like you don't spend 10 hours in a day to make a good song in 10 hours. You spend 10 hours in a day to make a good song in 15 minutes, But as soon as I got to the point of believing in the record, I was so blindly into it. When I had started posting videos on the internet with the song around the time that it came out in August, it was already doing okay, right? And that happened for a couple months where it was just slowly building and building and building. And then November happens, and literally right around the day of the release party, a couple days after that, the song gets taken out of discovery mode on Spotify, because when you package it with a project, none of us realize that takes the song out of discovery mode. And I'm so hypersensitive to the data, because data doesn't like discriminate, it doesn't know that you made a mistake, or we didn't even know it was a mistake. I don't even know if I can call it that. It was just circumstance. And so this thing happens, and at the same time, I think Fred again was just about to play the Shrine for the 9th night, and he was looking for an opener. So I'm a little bit sad at this point, because like I built these expectations of like, here's what this song should be doing every day, right? I'm getting this timeline right. Fred again was like a week after, something like that. And the song had been taken out of discovery mode. It starts plummeting in streams, just goes like way down. And I'm like, this is wrong. Like everyone's wrong about the song. Like I believe in it. I know it's good. Like I was just blind about it, right? Really, like we were talking about like moving on to the next project and like planning it out. I'm like, fuck that. Like we're still like on this song, whatever. And the Fred again thing happens right as this thing is plummeting. You knock on my door at 1 a.m. You're like, yo, Fred again is like he's looking for an opener at the Shrine. And I made a video, and I just got everyone. This is like when I had 10,000 followers. So this is like before anything started moving. And I was like, everyone go tag him. Like I was texting all my friends. Like I found like fucking like Fred again's mom's email through our friend, right? And just like trying to like go through every avenue to make this happen. And then they announced the opener of the show, and it wasn't me. And I just had this feeling in that moment that something really good would come of it. Because like I was definitely let down. Like I spent the whole day I spent like 20 hours straight trying to get this show, trying to figure it out, like posting videos all the time, like asking friends of friends, like, hey, who do you know on Fred Against Team? Trying to get his manager's email, like trying to do everything to get on it. But in that process, I noticed how many people actually knew the song. Like I noticed how many people were actually there, like, because I said go comment, like Fred again made a post, like an actual real post, and I was like, everyone go comment my name on it. And so at first it was my friends. At first it was like 20 of my friends commenting, and then strangers started to comment, like real life people started to comment like, yo, Daniel's your guy, Daniel's your guy. And while I didn't get the show, there was this bubbling feeling. I got like a couple hundred followers from it. There was this like bubbling feeling that like something's starting to connect with like this song and like the people that are behind the screens listening to it. And I think in that moment, with the song plummeting in streams, like my first, like my baby, like the DistroKid song, like the success story, like started plummeting, and I didn't get this show. I weirdly felt the most momentum I had ever felt.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was like blind confidence. I don't really know what it was, but I just went those next 2 weeks. I was just like, I'm going to have a video, like the next video that I'm going to post is going to go viral. And it did. Like after the Fred again, like I didn't get the show, I posted one video. It was the DJ video outside with I Just Need, and it got 300,000 plays. And then I parlayed that into the one with 1 million plays. And so in a weird way, the song getting taken out of discovery mode was like a blessing in disguise, because it just lit this crazy fire under me that I just kept going with, because I was just like, there's no, like the entire internet is wrong about this song, you know? And I've kind of just taken that and run with it. And I think with the moment that it's had on Reels, basically a week out during the Fred again thing, I posted that one video right after that got 300,000, posted another video that got 1 million, which was a DJ thing. Then, as I was talking about earlier, when I'm isolating for each variable, I did a version of it without DJing. So I took the DJing part out of it, but I kept the song in, and I just did it like a sitting studio one, and it got over it trumped the $1 million or the 1 million view video. And from that point, that was like one of the first times in doing content that I could actually isolate it to the song, because normally it's been like the activity or the copy. But it very much was isolated to the song in that experience. And from that point, it really is when it really started to take off. Like, I think it has like close to 150,000 reels made to it. And I haven't I haven't paid a penny for any of that up until this point. Like, it was really like the Alex Earl video, which was like one of the like most viral ones, or like one of the ones where like a bunch of friends from like my hometown were texting me about. That we didn't pay for that, you know, like that was just like, I think it just eventually got on the like suggested kind of audio page on Instagram, and a bunch of people want their videos to do better, so they use the song. And so that's why I think there's a difference between like followers and fans. But yeah, that it really all started with that second 1 million view video, and then really understanding that, oh my God, it might actually be the song and not what I'm doing. And then a bunch of other people noticed.
And then talk to me about the reaction you got from getting 1 million views on a video. Because I know something that we talked about is like the impression that you're popping versus like the actuality of what's happening on the day-to-day behind the scenes. Like, what did that kind of look like for you?
So when I play a show, the first thing I do is I go into the crowd right after, and I talk to the fans and I hug them and I take pictures. It was the same thing with that video where, like, don't get me wrong, I was stoked about it. Like, you see it, you like refresh your shit, and like it's like, oh my God, another 1,000, another 1,000, another 1,000. And that's all cool, but that doesn't last, you know? I more viewed it as like an opportunity. Holy shit, people on the internet like are commenting on my video for the first time because they like the song. I need to respond. And so really that first day was like, I responded to like 1,500 comments or something. Like, my eyes were hurting, like, because I was just like, I was taking every single one of them so like much as an opportunity to like earn a fan. Like, they've been pre-selected, kind of with that top of funnel thing. Like, they've been pre-selected to find my page, and now I have this kind of golden opportunity to turn them into like maybe something in between a follower and a fan, where they don't buy a ticket yet, but there's like a human interaction there.
Yeah.
But I think like obviously I was really excited about it, because you spend like 7 months dropping every day and iterating, and like you finally find something that works, you know? And like it felt like really good that it was with I Just Need specifically, because it was, I didn't do it with like a remix, or I didn't do it with like a mashup, like, which is good in its own right, but it was like very much an original song with me doing it in the way that I would be playing a show. Like, it was just like my first viral video was basically me doing what I would, like, it's how I would want it to go, you know? So I think that was like, I think how I got there was more meaningful than like the actual result.
And I think for me, it was really interesting that it was the first time that people in music, with all due respect, were noticing you for your music and not for the things you were doing around your music. Like, people were reaching out and be like, wow, Daniel's popping off. I love this song. It's getting crazy traction. Let's talk about signing it. Let's talk about record deals, stuff like that. And it was very interesting watching the tone change from like Daniel does cool music tech thing to like Daniel's music is just being received by the world in a really positive light. And I think that that shift has been really interesting for me to watch because it really kind of puts you in the game in a very serious way where it's not about some like, you know, you mentioned like counterculture, like some new tech thing. It's kind of just like the song's great and people are really liking it. And it feels like people are now coming out of the woodwork to co-sign the music and not the project, Daniel, and what's around it by virtue of like the opportunities that you bring to the table.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's something that I've always kept in the back of my mind as I've navigated like being an entrepreneur and as I've navigated tech and as I've navigated music. I have never wanted the definition of what I actually do at its foundation to get lost. Yeah. I think at every juncture, like whether it was dropping on Catalog in 2021 or dropping on Sound in 2022 or doing like my own things, like I've always been so music first. And I feel like in a lot of ways that was lost in how tech forward I was, how entrepreneurial forward I was. And so I think that's probably been one of the more gratifying experiences is being like, yo, like I really do this shit, you know, like I really am like, I'm in my studio all day, you know, it's like, it's not like I'm a musician first and everything else is on the side where I feel like at the time, or like maybe like a couple years ago, it was like, I'm getting recognition for the first time, which is, it's like any PR is like good PR. Like, and I think that I'm proud of those things, you know, but it was never about me being an artist. It was always about like the things that I was doing like adjacent to it. Yeah. And so I think it's like, I'm glad, I'm definitely, part of me is really happy that people are waking up to it, but it's, I've never, I feel like I've been really clear about it. And like, again, like maybe the proxy or the easiest way to really understand that I'm serious about it might be the video doing well, or it might be the song streaming well, but it's like nothing for me personally has changed in the past few years in terms of what my priorities are. Yeah.
And you mentioned on the note of I Just Need that working with Lyra has been really special. You mentioned how she's been a huge contributor to the project. She's been making a ton of videos. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, what she kind of brought to the table that helped this song have its moment that might be different from just other songs that you've been a part of in the past?
Yeah, she's probably like the best collaborator I'd say that you can ask for because we're just really similar. Like, I mean, that makes me sound like I'm a really good collaborator too, but I'm more just saying like, it's nice to work with someone who like respects the release process as much as like the songwriting and the working on the music process. You know, like we had a great time making the song together, but if you asked her where she's had the most fun, it's probably been like the post-release stuff, you know, whereas like, as an artist, most of the time it's just kind of like, yo, like let's have fun, let's vibe, let's write this record. And don't get me wrong, there's magic in that. There's absolutely magic in that. Like I think back often to like the first session that me and her had, which is when we did the song, you know. But I think all of the memories of like playing it at Chainsmokers show, bringing her out for it, like all of these things, playing it at Electric Forest for the first time and debuting it, like all these kind of moments that I've had with the song could not have happened if she wasn't as down to be doing the content shit as much as I am. Like I said, if there are 500 videos to the song, we've probably each done like 250 of them, you know? And like for hers only started popping now, which is like fucking amazing because like she captures a side of the internet that I would never be able to capture, right? You know, just by nature of me being a dude or just like the me being a producer's producer. Like she comes at it from a totally different artist side and like captures like, it's like she's done a way better job converting like the Alex Earl part of the internet because she is already like in that world to an extent, you know what I mean? And I didn't have to like, if I was trying to like capture that audience, I would have to like change even more about my content. Whereas for her, it was more of a natural fit. And so she's able to just like, as a collaborator, like capture parts of the internet that I'm not able to capture. And like I said, at the beginning of the song, it was like, I had a lot of videos popping off, but she was still posting videos. It was basically like we have the same timeline. It's just 4 months removed, you know, where like I was posting for 4 months, nothing was really happening. Then it started happening around the song. As that's happening, she's starting to post more often. And now like 3 months later from like November, her videos are starting to do crazy and she's starting to bring traction to the song. So she's like I said, it really boils down to like respect with the song. And like, I think that me and Kathleen are both very aligned on like this being a very special record and neither of us knowing what the ceiling is. And like, it's not like there's this, I think every day me and her are kind of like challenging what the ceiling is rather than accepting what it already might be. You know, like we're just like, what can this be? Can we get this to like yesterday the song got 75,000 streams, right? I'm like, can we get it to 1 million? You know, like, can we actually get the song to 1 million streams a day? Like, not like, because, you know, a month ago, I was like, can I get it to 100,000? Okay, like, I know I can get it. I'm like, I view it in multiples. Like, when it was at 30K, I was like, if I get to like 100K a day, I can play like massive festivals or whatever, right? But I didn't view it as like 70,000 more additional streams. I was like, I'm only a 3x away, right? And with like, I'm at 75K now, I'm like a 11x away, 12x away from 1 million, you know? And so like, she views it, I think, through the same lens, which is like amazing.
And I know that you've also brought on people to help with your content too. Do you want to talk a little bit about just like bringing someone to the table that's really laser focused on making your content work and how that's allowed you to develop that rapport?
It's really interesting because in the early days, a lot of it was Emma's her name. A lot of it was Emma just making all the content for me because I had no idea how to edit any of it. A lot of the content actually started doing better when I started editing it. And it's not because I'm a better editor than her. She's definitely better than me and like does it a lot more often than me. I think that for me, having it just come from my voice and like have all the, like a lot of our back and forth would be like, hey, change this little thing. And it would just take a little bit more time than me actually doing it. So I think where Emma's role right now is thinking about it more. First of all, she still does all my cover arts. But it's really more of a sounding board of us brainstorming shit, and I'm the one editing it because I want it to feel like it's actually coming from me. And I feel like you can kind of tell most of the times when like accounts are run by someone. Yeah. You know? And so my relationship with that right now is just like, still love having her on because of how much of a soundboard and like a strategic role she is, more than like being like the editor. Whereas in the early days, I'm like, if I just pay money and hire an editor, like, I'm gonna be on the internet. But it's not about being on the internet. It's about being effective on the internet and like being understandable and like relatable to on the internet. And like if you have someone doing your shit for you, that's like the least relatable thing.
It's like content plus, you know? The way I kind of see it is posting frequently is a requirement in this day and age. Like you need to be getting in front of people, need to be posting, but I think you can really start to feel authenticity. And if you're not actively developing a relationship with your content and with your voice and your personality and whatnot, I think that it comes across, doesn't really connect in the same way. And then I think you're also not invested in it. So the results are going to be correlated to that. You know, I'd say a big reason why your content started doing so well is because you were so invested in it for so long that it was really only a matter of time, you know? And I think that's very different from you saying, I'm just going to hire someone. They're just going to post 100 videos for me every month. Maybe one pops, but like, I'm not going to pay attention to it. Like there was a process that you touched on in the beginning of this episode that really allowed you to get to a point where, you know, I'd argue now, like you're in a very strong position where a lot of other artists are coming to you and asking, how do I do my content strategy? And it's not only that you figured your intention out, but you can now also break down the science of it to start to explain that to other people. And that to me is a sign that you've actually really learned it yourself and you're not relying on someone else to say that for you.
I would say I'm learning. I would say I'm still learning it. I just, like I said, I don't have a formula for how videos go viral, but I have a better grasp of how to iterate. And I have a better grasp of how I've curated that for myself, right? And I think that's what I tell like other artists is like, listen, I don't know how to get 1 million views on every video. If I did that, all of my videos would be getting 1 million views every time, you know? But I do know how to get from like being like totally dead on the internet to like no one's watching your videos, like you're getting 500 views, you're getting 1,000 views, you're getting 1,500 views a video, to like, okay, like at minimum every video I post will get like 20,000 views or 30,000 views, right? And like that I feel confident in, like just came from me iterating and came from me like finding my voice and like trying things. And I still continue to, like it's not like I have it figured out, but I have at least direction. And I feel like that's a lot of like my common talking points with the artists is they just have no direction. But the reality is like you can't plan direction on the internet most of the time. The way that you figure out your direction is you just have to start driving. Like you have to like put the car on the course and you're probably going to like go out of the lane a bunch of times and go the wrong way. And like, but you have to like start driving and then you'll learn how to fucking drive. And like, that's really what it's been for me is like, I didn't know, the only thing that I committed to was posting on the internet, which is like 50% of the battle. Like, it's like, if you have an idea in your head of like a concept or like a content series, don't let it just be a concept in your head. Just go do it. Just go do it and then plan. I think a lot of people, what they do is like, they think way too like big, where they're like, I'm gonna make 50 videos in one day, and then I'm gonna edit them all in like a day and then post them throughout the month. Like, first of all, I've never made 50 fucking videos in a day. That's like suicide. That's terrible, right? But if you can shoot 6 or 7 videos in a day, fine, whatever. Like if you want to do it on a Sunday and then post throughout the week. but like you should you have to like you should edit them every day because you're going to learn from the one that you did the day before. Like you don't just edit 7 videos with all the copy and everything perfect. Like post the first one, see how it does, and then adjust based on that. Right. And I don't know, I think that a lot of people are like, I have this perfect concept, and if it doesn't work, then the internet doesn't get me. And I'm like, no, like it doesn't work because you're not trying enough different things. Like, you know, it's like, what is it, like insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results? Like, it's like, that's really the case. Like, I'm not saying that like you have to be like one of your videos has to be like a sitting down video, and if that doesn't work, go skydive. Like it's like just change the copy first, or change the song first, or change small things and like build from there, and like try one thing at a time. Like if you just start posting a bunch of different things, like you're not gonna have any idea when a video does well. You're not gonna have any idea why. And like I think that's just as important, because you don't want just one video to do well. Like you want to be able to like start to create a track record for yourself, and like the more like pointed you can be toward that is how you find your direction on the internet.
And so what does that look like for you headed into this year? If we kind of bring this all full circle, you have these shows coming up, you have some, you know, content series that you're going to be rolling out. What should people be expecting from you in 2024?
First and foremost, new music. I think that I'm in this like interesting spot right now where I just need is having this moment. And for the first time in my life, I have to hit pause on music, which is the correct objective like decision. But musically, it's a weird one, because I've always been like such a like fiercely independent entrepreneur and like way of like putting out music. Like when I was in Duality, I was doing a song every 2 weeks, and I don't really like prescribe to the idea that like a song has to have the perfect data going into it. Like I just need came out 5 months ago, and we're just building out the data now, right? But when something happens, you kind of have to rethink it, because you know, I going into this year was like, at this point I was supposed to have, I think, the second song come out in like a week. Right now I'm not even thinking about the next music, even though it's done, even though like I'm ready with it. It's kind of been like an interesting strategic play to hit pause and see what the song can really be. So, but with that said, I have the new music done, you know, and I'm just waiting for the right time to do it, which is a new experience for me, getting used to it. Normally I'm just like, you know, bonsai, just good, throwing it against the wall and like kamikazing that shit and just really going for it. But I think that with content in general, it's like the touring stuff is happening. So I'm trying to move in a little bit more of a direction of like trying to recreate that experience. Like I'm starting to throw like family affair parties at the house that are just like little boiler room sets that are just like me and my friends. Like part of it is just to have fun, but I think another part is to try to like create awareness for other people on the internet, and like try to put in the same way that it's just me isolating for another variable. Like there was DJing with the song, and now there's DJing with the song in front of people, and just like seeing how that goes, and then DJing the song at my own hard ticket shows. And it really like if you really look at it, if you were to analyze it, you could see how clear it is. It's really just going one thing at a time. So this next iteration right now is DJing the song at shows in the house, DJing the song at shows that I sell tickets for, and then DJing other songs. And that are like my new music. And so like that's kind of what I'm talking about in terms of finding the formula. And like the next step for me is, how does that translate to real people in front of you?
Well, it's been an amazing last year, basically. I mean, just watching where you were when we first started this podcast, episode 1, to now. I mean, a lot's happened. And I think it's just a testament to how much can happen in such a short period of time. And I guess in sort of a closing note here, you talk a lot about this idea of like, music is a 10-year journey. You know, you feel like you're on the very early years of your process. Like, what would you say to other artists who have maybe been making music for 5 to 10 years, artists who have been trying to kind of break out and have like a moment? Like, what would you say to anyone that's kind of going through that battle right now?
Your year one isn't the first year that you start making music. One moment can change everything for you. You could be going the Jaguar Twin, 35-year-old guy, has a song come out that changes the entire trajectory of his career. Like he's like borderline like moving towards being like a star right now. You know what I mean? As a 35-year-old. That's not his year one of music. Like bro has been making music. He had an artist project before Jaguar Twin, like featuring on massive electronic records. And now he finally gets his first at bat as an artist. And like the moral in that is like, it's never too late to start trying things. And like, if you just keep going, eventually it really always is a function of time. Like you have to keep taking these shots in the dark, because when you have one that works, everything can change. In the same way that like, for me, so many people have come out of the woodworks to talk to me about my music and seeing me. I feel like seen for the first time as an artist, right? Like where it's like, it really feels like a serious thing that people are like taking my music seriously and taking me seriously. I'm 26 years old. Like I started making music. I started being involved in music 10 years ago, and I started producing 6 years ago. And Jaguar Twin, 35 years old. I don't know like his story like super personally, but like I would imagine it's been a long time that he's been making music. Like when he featured on a Alessa record, I knew all the words to that song when I was a 16-year-old, you know? And so he's been doing it for, my guess is like 15, 20 years. And he's now like having his year one or year two, whatever, however you want to call it, like as a musician.
Yeah.
And so I think you just kind of have to keep going and like have this like blind faith, and you have to be a little bit delirious about it. But one moment changes everything.
Well, with that, Daniel Allan, back, returning guest. Daniel, if anyone wants to keep up with your work outside of this podcast, where can they follow you at?
Daniel Allan Music on Instagram and TikTok. It's a lot of I Just Need videos. And I'm Daniel Allan on Twitter.
Amazing. Well, thanks for coming back, man. I'm excited for the year to come. And remember, no guest lists for the shows. So if you're listening to this, go buy a ticket, and we'll see you guys again very soon. Peace.
Peace.